For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and hope. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Brothers and sisters, when God is preparing something great for your life, the atmosphere changes. Your spirit feels it, your surroundings reflect it, and your path is as if worked by an invisible hand. But often before the breakthrough there are signs that God is moving mountains for you. Before continuing, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment with this statement of faith. Lord, I believe you are preparing something great for my life. In this video we'll explore 7 powerful signs that God is about to move in extraordinary ways in your life. These revelations will illuminate your path and strengthen your faith in times when you might think everything is falling apart. The desert is intensifying. There are times in life when every step seems futile, when the sand stretches as far as the eye can see, and the sun burns hotter than usual. The desert is not just a physical place. It is a state of mind, a space where silence becomes overwhelming and time seems to stretch into infinity. Israel knew this reality, walking for 40 years in aridity, their feet treading dust, their hope often tested. And yet, across that barren expanse, there was an invisible promise moving forward with them, a constant whisper that the destination was worth every drop of sweat and every icy night. Perhaps you too find yourself in a desert right now. Your plans stagnate, your dreams seem distant, and the silence of life around you sometimes becomes unbearable. But this desert is not abandonment, it is a sign. The promise is drawing closer. The void you are crossing is not nothingness, but the prelude to something greater, something beyond what your eyes can perceive. There is a silent transformation taking place in the invisible, a careful preparation for the moment when water gushes forth in the midst of drought. Promise does not always manifest itself with a bang, it is woven gently, and even when all seems barren, a path is already traced. In these moments of doubt and loneliness, the breath of hope whispers that the desert is never an end but a passage. Isaiah 43 verse 19. Doors are closing. Sometimes life knocks without warning, and you find yourself facing a door that slams forcefully shut. It's not a sign that all is lost, but rather a warning that certain paths are not meant for you at this time. Joseph experienced this in the most brutal way. Betrayed by his own brothers, he was thrown into prison, locked away in injustice and darkness. Yet, behind that closed door, a greater plan was already at work. Every moment spent in the cell, every moment of solitude, prepared his access to the palace, to the glory that no betrayal could have extinguished. The closing of doors in your life is never by chance. It's a protection, a divine guidance that turns you away from the path that would cause you to stumble and guides you toward the one that will rise. You may feel frustration, anger, or sadness, but this apparent rejection is actually an opening in disguise, an invitation to trust in God's perfect timing. There are doors we want to open with our human hands, but God closes them for our good, and behind them lies exactly what we need. Do not struggle to reopen what is sealed, but observe the invisible movement, feel the subtle guidance, and walk toward what is already prepared for you. Even in uncertainty and pain, there is a door that remains open, a path that leads to destiny that no one can interrupt. Revelation 3 verse 8. Opposition grows. There are times when everything seems to get worse, when obstacles multiply as if the whole world has ganged up on you. Enemies seem bolder, problems heavier, and every step forward seems almost impossible. David experienced this before he faced Goliath. No one chose him for this fight by chance. Every mockery, every doubting look, every solitary preparation led him exactly where he needed to be. Opposition is never a sign that you are failing, but an indicator that your moment of elevation is imminent. Trials become more intense because the revelation of your calling is near, because the victory you await demands a larger, more visible, more significant battleground. When you feel the pressure mounting, when the attacks become more ferocious, remember that this is proof that what you carry is precious and deserves to be protected and tested. In the heat of battle, there is an invisible force deployed for you, a support that the human eye cannot perceive but the spirit can feel. Sometimes the best strategy is to remain silent, not to respond with your own power but to let the Lord fight for you. Every battle, every confrontation, every obstacle is a piece of the puzzle that builds your triumph. Even in the midst of chaos, victory is brewing, and it always arrives at the exact moment. Exodus 14 verse 14. God's silence is heard. There are times when the world seems empty of answers, when your prayers echo into the void, and heaven seems to close its doors. You call out, you scream, and all you hear is silence. Even Jesus experienced this emptiness on the cross, when he expressed his abandonment, and yet this silence was not forgetting, but an essential step in the divine plan. When God is silent, it is not rejection, it is preparation. In the apparent stillness, in the absence of response, he acts in the invisible, shaping paths, opening doors, and orchestrating events that your human eyes cannot yet perceive. This silence can seem heavy, almost cruel, but it is often the prelude to a revelation that will transform your life in ways you never imagined. It is in these moments that we learn true patience, that we begin to perceive that waiting itself is a tool for growth, a blacksmith who molds the heart and mind. Every doubt, every question, every silent sigh becomes a piece of the picture God is meticulously painting. And even if you don't understand it today, you'll eventually see how that moment of silence was actually an echo of his faithfulness, a signal that something powerful is coming your way. John 13:7 An unshakable faith is born in you. Faith is not forged in comfort. It rises in the midst of trial, in moments when everything seems to be collapsing around you. God doesn't just prepare you to receive a blessing. He prepares you to bear it, to be the bearer of what you cannot yet imagine. Job, despite his pain, proclaimed with a strength that spans the centuries, "I know that my Redeemer lives." This declaration was not just a cry for survival. It was the affirmation of a faith that refuses to give in to the flames. Every difficulty, every obstacle, every suffering becomes a whetstone for your heart, a fire that purifies, that hardens, that transforms what was fragile into a solid and resistant ally. Faith then becomes like gold that passes through the fire, brighter, stronger, more precious. Even when circumstances seem contrary and life tests your patience, there is a strength within you that cannot be shaken. It is an invisible but palpable force, a silent assurance that God's plan is moving forward despite appearances. When you walk in this unwavering faith, you become able to walk through the unknown, stand in uncertainty, and face every trial with courage, knowing that what is building within you is greater than anything you are going through. Romans 1 verse 17. Divine alignments appear. There are moments when life seems orchestrated by an invisible hand. You are walking almost at random, and suddenly an encounter changes everything. A word, a gesture, a presence that arrives at the exact moment, as if the universe itself had been waiting for this day to manifest itself. Ruth experienced this in the fields of Moab, where an encounter with Boaz was not the result of chance but of a carefully woven divine plan. Every alignment, every person who crosses your path, every unexpected opportunity is a clue that God is guiding your steps toward your destiny. These moments appear when you least expect them, often masked by routine or the challenges of everyday life, but their impact is profound and transformative. The Lord directs the steps of man, even when the path seems chaotic, and every detour, every fork in the road, every unexpected encounter plays a role in your story. You may not immediately understand the meaning of certain connections, but over time, you will see how they placed you exactly where you needed to be to move forward in your calling. These divine alignments are not coincidences. They are invitations to walk with confidence, to recognize that even in the invisible, God prepares your path and opens doors you had never imagined. Proverbs 20 verse 24. A surprising peace envelopes you. There are times when the chaos around you is so intense that everything seems to be collapsing, when storms strike from all sides, and darkness seems to want to engulf you. And yet, in the midst of this tumult, an unexpected peace arises, a serenity that defies all human logic. This peace is not the product of ideal circumstances. It comes from an invisible presence, from an inner assurance that everything is already orchestrated. Paul and Silas experienced it in prison, beaten and chained, but instead of giving in to fear, they chose praise. And in that moment of bold faith, the chains gave way, the doors opened, and victory manifested. God's peace is not simply a passive calm. It is an active force, a shield that protects your heart and mind even as the world screams around you. It testifies that you are not simply surviving, but that you are already spiritually positioned for victory. This peace acts like a beacon in the storm, guiding your thoughts, stabilizing your soul, and assuring me that nothing can overturn what God has prepared for you. Even when everything seems contrary, it surrounds you, strengthens you, and reminds you that God's power surpasses all human understanding. Philippians 4 verse 7. Beloved, if you recognize these signs in your life, do not doubt. You are not at the end of your journey, you are on the threshold of your breakthrough. Like the dawn before sunrise, the night sometimes seems darkest just before the light bursts forth. God is writing a new page in your story. Wait on Him, for what He is preparing is beyond anything you can imagine.